Hello and welcome to another edition of IIABCal Voices. I'm your host, James Lott Jr. I was in the insurance industry for over 11 years, and then I left to go into the media industry, and now I'm back doing both. That's right, doing this podcast for the big Association of California. It makes me so happy because there's so many amazing people in this industry. My guest, it is like an honor to have her on my show. Let me read you a few of the things that she is and has done. Okay. She's the current chair of the International Board of Governors of the Insurance Industry Charitable Foundation. She's the president of the Association of Professional Insurance Women. That's right, kids. She's also the immediate past president of the chair of the Governance Committee and Board of Trustees for the Gamma Iota Sigma. That's right. She's also independent director for Nuclear Electric Insurance Limited. She also is the senior advisor at AmWINS Access, and just to throw this in, she's Insurance Business America Hall of Famer. I got a Hall of Famer on the show. Come on, folks. Let me help me welcome the wonderful, lovely, just great Barbara Bufkin. Barbara.
Thank you. Such a wonderful introduction. You have created the most beautiful energy in the room today. Thank you so much.
You are amazing, and I want to thank you for your time. I want to ask you, when someone lists at one sitting these, because you've done a lot more than that too, but they list in this setting all the things that you accomplished, that you're a past president of this, you're a president of that, director of this. How does that feel for you these days? How does that hit you?
You know, I actually don't ever think about it. I think about exactly what I'm here, what the future holds, and I value all the relationships and the experiences that brought me to today. So it's just this unbelievable bouquet. It's a bounty of a career of, I've often said, I feel like I have had 5 or 6 careers in one. And that's a big part of, I think, what creates this energy for today and for the future. And you have brought energy to this introduction. So that I don't really think about it a lot. I don't really. I just think it's a bounty of experience.
Yes. Well, I mean, it's a great example for people who get into the business where you can go. I mean, I think people get into the business first, for money or for other reasons. But then it's also you're involved. And
Yeah.
so how important is it to be involved in the insurance industry in other areas besides, the sales side, that kind of stuff?
It's incredibly important because we're serving our stakeholders, our customers, and however you define your customer base, reaching into your community and the lives that are affecting your customers, and doing it really in a very committed way because you personally want to commit your time to that, is really a part of, I think, what helps builds the whole person. And we talk so much about bringing your whole person to work. We're talking so much about allyship now. All of these components are what really lead us to having a fulfilling life, first and foremost, life that includes our families and our friends. And for me, the concept of work-life balance was never really one I understood, even though I raised 2 magnificent sons, entered life with a wonderful man of 28 years, and we have a blended family of 6 children. And there's now 4 little boys under the age of 4, adding to this beautiful life. All of this was intertwining with my career. And I don't take for granted how hard that is. I feel that acknowledging the importance of having a support system, you asked the question, how important is it? It is this support system that allows us to be vulnerable to what we're struggling with, whether it's COVID in this most extraordinary circumstance right now, a circumstance at home with your family, elder care certainly with my mother now is a part of our life. But in our work life, also recognizing there are going to be times when we're really fully engaged and then we're having to step off and on-ramp back in, whether it's just periods of your life. And so I think that the importance of a network and the importance of building relationships through these transitions is absolutely crucial to your own personal happiness, but to what you give back to your company and to your community. So I I think that this is a suggestion, and beyond a suggestion, it's an urgency to understand that the people's lives that you're communicating with and how you communicate with them are going to be part of your future. This is the intersectionality of our industry is amazing, and you and I will cross paths, I'm certain, in the next 10 years, James.
Yeah.
And it may have taken us 30 years to get to know each other today, but we will now be aware of each other, and I will think of you when I think about something that has to do with the production and something relevant to the industry. I will think of you.
Yeah, I agree. Same, same here. And I talk about with my I hate to say fans, my followers. I'll say that, my followers.
Yes.
My friends out there who follow me in my business. I always say that we're part of the village. It's back to the old time stuff. We're all part of that village. You're part of my village now. I'm part of your village. And it really does take a village, not just to raise a child, but to raise us, I mean, so to speak, as adults, right? I mean, and for work, you said, for the work and children and then grandchildren and parents, it takes a lot, doesn't it?
It does. And I borrowed the phrase from, the famous Eat, Pray, Love. My phrase was live, love, work.
Yes, I like that.
All together.
I like that. I do like that. So, I mean, okay. You talk a little bit about having, work, family and stuff. So how important, when you got to the insurance industry, well, first of all, I ask you, why insurance? I guess I'll say that. Why the insurance industry?
Yeah, it's such a ridiculous story because so many of us, I mean, millions of us talk about, oh, I never planned to go into insurance.
Right.
I'm just one of those. You come out of university, I went to college at 16. I graduated at 20 with a philosophy degree. I had no idea.
Wait, girl, wait a minute, girl. Before you get into any of that, you went to college at 16?
I did.
Wow.
I was in a rush. I was in such a rush. I was just hurrying all the time, and so I was rushing to get to college, and so I did that. And then that was fun, and it was like, oh dear, now what?
Right.
I was a cocktail waitress for almost a year, and because in New York State you could be a cocktail waitress till 4 a.m. Anyway,
New York State, yes, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, so that was probably not why I went to college, but it was incredibly great life experience. And so now I'm just turning 21, and I'm thinking, because you could drink at 18, never mind.
Yes.
All right. So that then led to, I really wanted to be in business, and had nobody directly in the property casualty space, but I did have a dear uncle who actually was with Mass Mutual on the life insurance side, and said, "Oh, you ought to think about going into underwriting." And voila, I literally landed a job at the Travelers Insurance Company in their commercial underwriting training program, and that was the launch. And from there, I pivoted. And in the course of 4 years, which was really unheard of, I just kept, went through this fabulous 1-year training program that led to the next thing, which led to the next thing, which led to the next thing. And then I look back 5 years later, and now I'm in reinsurance. Very, I think and I would encourage people to do this, that as you learn something that you're being exposed to for the first time in our insurance industry, it has so many components that you can continue to grow with. And that opportunity to race towards what you love and what you're good at within our industry, it is multidimensional. It can touch so many aspects because our industry is one of protecting risk, and risk is everywhere.
Yeah, that's true.
And you were telling me, James, you were a nurse.
Yeah.
And the healthcare industry is a huge part of our insurance industry.
Yeah.
I just really fell into it.
I love that. But see, some of the best things happen when you're not planned, when you fall into them. That's the best.
I believe that there was a spontaneity, and I think that spontaneity of embracing change and embracing something new and continuously learning. Those continuously learning frameworks, or if they're not frameworks, they're passions, right? Go for it. Just go for it.
I agree. I completely agree with you, Barbara. I do. I completely agree with that. Mentoring. That's one of the big things I want to talk to you about. We mentioned the village. We mentioned working together. Insurance, I always say this every time on the show, the insurance industry is a people-driven, oriented, goal-oriented industry. It's people. I mean, it's
Yes.
that's just different things in there, but it all goes down to people. I mean, that's what it all boils
Yes.
down to.
Yes.
Did you have mentors? Do you have mentors?
I did have mentors, and I had mentors in every step
Mm,
of that pivot I talk about. Every single one, I had a mentor. And I wasn't calling these people mentors. They were my colleagues, or I reported to them. But through that process, I literally can go back through this wildly fast 40 years.
yeah, that's amazing. I can't believe that.
Wildly fast. Don't do the math. Nobody do the math. I will dare you not to do the math. But anyway, no math.
No math. I won't do it, girl. I won't do it.
Thank you, James. Thank you, James. Thank you, James. But yes, in every case. And then understanding that your need to learn. And also, there's a dimension of mentoring. It's a reverse mentoring, too. And so for me, I absolutely thrive now on working with talent that is coming into the industry because I have much to learn from how the talent entering the industry thinks. So yes, I would say in every work circumstance you find yourself in, you will be learning from someone. A formal mentoring relationship is different. It's a contract between your mentor and your mentee, and there are things that you should try to work on together as you define the contract of that mentor-mentee relationship. So I would say mine was informal, but now as we've gotten a lot smarter on mentoring and sponsoring and coaching, what are all these differences? Having a really understood kind of a contract of what we're trying to achieve in our mentor-mentee relationship is valuable. So you set a time for it, you have certain objectives you want to achieve, and then that leads to sponsorship. Because then if you're in a role where you can influence hiring or you can influence something you know would be quite good for the person you've been mentoring, then you become a sponsor for that person. And then their voice is at the table when they may not physically be able to be there because you bring your voice. So there's a pathway that definitely starts with mentoring, yes.
I agree with that. And I've had mentors also along the way. And you're right, some of them were informal. Where you're right, you didn't call them mentors. You just learn from them. They pass on pieces of information that are so useful to you that you years later go, I remember when so and so said they were so right. I mean, even well, I even call like I always use this phrase with my grandmother, may she rest in peace. I used to always say that she had this phrase, "Not all money's good money," and that's a form of mentorship. It was informed. It was my grandmother telling her grandson to be careful in what jobs he chooses. That wasn't formal mentoring like we were talking about. Again, like I'm a life coach also, so it's coaching as a whole other thing. That was just someone that I learned from that served me well as I went through life. And
those are pillars. It's a value system, right? So that your grandmother gave you a tremendous value system in that message, but it was something that it was a cornerstone of how you thought about moving forward in life. And that's right. Like, and I think having those cornerstones, those core values for ourselves, and even when we're in interviewing or we're thinking about, where we're going to gift our talent to, right? Where will you gift your talent to? I think it's very important to understand what are the things that are most important to you as a person, and how can you really be a great contributor in that position you may be interviewing for, and vice versa. So I think there's an openness to, and as you're entering your career and moving forward in your career, to really having a good conversation through your own path that you're choosing. And sometimes you don't choose some of it. Sometimes it just falls in your lap, or sometimes there's a circumstance that derails you. And those derailers are going to be building blocks of your success in the future. Just, we have to remember that. Anytime you feel you've been thrown off course, dust yourself off, get back up, and recognize it as a growth opportunity.
You couldn't even say it better. I always feel I took the word failure out of my vocabulary.
Yes.
There's no such thing of it. It's just that, some things don't happen a certain way you may think they should. Some things happen, but you're going to be okay. First of all, everybody, you're going to be okay. And people move on. You do move on. And those failures may serve you well too in your future successes. If we use the word failure, if I believe in the word. So I agree with you, Barbara, completely.
No,
So
you're right. You're right, Jesus. I think that's perfectly said. And so you sometimes just back to the mentor, back to the network, right? What happens when you've had that derailer? You need to go right back to your network, right back to your mentor
yeah,
and say, okay, I need to breathe now, get over the shock of whatever may have just circumstances may have happened, and think. Just center yourself and think with your network and think with your mentors.
I agree. And you may find, which I did a couple low times in my career, your mentors went through it also. So you're not alone. That's a
Yes.
great comfort also when you're not alone. And they may tell you, it may tell you an example of how they came out of it. Doesn't mean that's your way of coming out of it, but at least it'll help you formulate how to come out of
Yes.
it. So I had a few that were really I had some great mentors in that. And you said something that I wanted to touch upon a little bit too, that I think is very important. You're a great example of. I can see why you're amazing. You say that you learn too. I
Oh
think
yeah.
sometimes they look at us as we get a little mature. They think we're all stuck and that's just it. But I know a lot of us that aren't. The education never ends, right?
It never ever ends. And I think you have to continuously want to learn. I said it before. And so when you're meeting young talent, I think that learning from that talent, and of course we talk so much about the digital native and the digital immigrant and all of this, and there's a lot of truth in that, right? But it's my responsibility to be as current in technology and work processes as someone that was raised swiping or clicking,
Yeah,
right? Because I mean, the swipe is like something really fast.
yeah,
So
yeah,
sometimes
yeah,
you just swipe too fast. And so I can often find myself, so slow down, just get, and I talk fast, right? So it's ironic that
Me
I
too. No, me too. No, me too.
right. But I think so that cultural integration again of digitalizing everything. And look, Amazon's helping us all do this, right? I mean, if you just think about how are we living and how are we working now in work from away, what's been miraculous to me and such a gift is the number of customers, clients, people in our workplace that I speak to that have been able to transition to work from home. So what did that mean? Their ability to capture the value of technology to work from home during the pandemic has been tremendous. So that's happened with that responsibility and actually a need to how are we going to function? This is how we're going to function. So it's been a lot of fun for me to both bring teams together and work closely with teams. Gamma Iota Sigma has been fantastic with the thousands and thousands of students that are part of the organization. And the insurance industry, this is the pipeline of talent for the future is very much coming out of Gamma Iota Sigma. And so that's why it's been such a wonderful experience to be so close to this, and how the students have been able to respond to their own having to not go to school. I mean, this has been something we
I
have
know.
to be sensitive to, right?
I really do. I mean, you and I had the college experience. You and I got to go to actually do stuff. And I feel for my grandchildren who are in high school. I feel for my nieces and nephews who are now in college. They're excited to go, and that, yes, they're in. I put in quotes, folks. They're in college.
Yes.
They're not in college, and I feel so bad for them because I sure you agree it's a value. Even that is a valuable experience. Like going to college.
It's totally a valuable experience. Just the transition, even if you went 20 miles away, it doesn't matter. I mean, just that entire you definitely are in a much more accountable and it's a much greater sense of independence, no matter what your circumstances were when you're in college. So there are going to be consequences of this that I think our mental health issues. I'm very sensitive to what's happening, and for the working parents that don't have readily available support in childcare. These are all social consequences. And our industry, our insurance industry, is well known, I think, for being there for philanthropic and for valuing the social responsibilities that we have as an industry. Because we're first responders, right?
Yep.
Oftentimes in a time of crisis, the industry is a first responder. So this plays out in, I think, how we have a give back culture in the industry. And it's another great reason why coming into our industry, we also tend to be very counter-cyclical. It tends to be a very stable place to work during times of economic downturn. So there's just a vast number of things that make this industry vibrant and really one that is continuing to look towards tools and technology at a rapid pace.
Yeah, that's true. I can talk to you forever. You're my new best friend now. I'm telling you, Barbara. You're not getting rid of me. You're gonna hear from me at some point.
Promise me that's true, James.
Yeah, I do. I do.
Thank you. Thank you.
You are an inspiration not just to women, because you are. So any woman watching this, please listen to her. But also to just anybody coming into the industry that's coming in, because of course we need perpetuation. We need, we need new blood in here. And so we'll end this with you. What would you say to someone coming into the industry? What's one thing you would say to someone coming into the industry?
I would say to them, you are entering one of the most tremendous opportunities to grow and to find your best talent within yourself and drive towards it, because our industry will be able to respond to what you believe you do best, as long as you have the courage to communicate that and work hard. So there is no substitute for your commitment to what you're doing. So throw yourself into it. And as you are exposed to different parts of the industry or your own talent, as you're learning about yourself and what your skills are, communicate that. Reach towards something that you know you're going to love, but stay in the industry. And if you go through some parts of your career that you feel are just not a right fit, don't abandon right away. Think about it. Look for the other dimensions, because we could talk for an hour alone about the many, many, many aspects of this industry to respond to your talent. So just embrace that and work hard, really give it your all. It will be so rewarding for you. I promise you it will.
And I agree. And there's so many different vast parts of this industry. So the one section may not be for you. That's fine. But another section might be for you. So just don't give up. I mean, just check around and see what's going on.
Thank you, James.
Miss Barbara, regret?
Yeah, I said I've loved meeting you. Thank you.
Same here. Tell people where they can find you. Are you on LinkedIn or anywhere? Or do you want to
you can find me on LinkedIn? Absolutely. And for those that are listening, drop me a note and just mention James. Just mention James. Please drop me a note and say, I saw you speaking with James. And that's all I need to know. Just James's first name, indelibly in my mind now. And I will respond to everybody. I think it's incredibly important, and I would welcome the outreach. Absolutely.
Yes, we're in this together. I'm gonna follow you on LinkedIn. I don't think I'm following. I'm gonna try to follow you. I don't know if I am or not.
Right. Thank you, James, and happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to you too. And folks out there, please be safe, be careful, be kind to each other. This time period is a very stressful time period. We're all in this together. This is one of the few things we're all in this together. Trust me. Yes. And what each other does is a ripple effect to everybody else. This is IIABCal Voices. I am James Lott Jr. You can follow us on all social media platforms at JLJ Media. You can follow us on every streaming service, starting from Apple Podcasts to iHeartRadio to Spotify, and the video versions on my online network, JLJ Media, on the YouTube channels. So just go to JLJ Media or type in IIABCal Voices. Also, IIABCalVoices.org, IIABCal.org is their website. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.